Boy, the Tomcat, what an airplane. I was training when it was coming out, and I ended my career the year the Tomcat stopped flying in the Navy. So my whole career in the Navy spanned that whole Tomcat history. But the best flight, the most interesting one that I took was off the Eisenhower in 1977. So it was a new ship. The Ike just rolled out, and we were the air wing that went aboard it. The two fighter squadrons were the Pukin Dogs and the Ghost Riders. I was a Pukin Dog. The squadron is very competitive, as you know, and we go back and forth. And at that time, there was some intelligence that the Cubans wanted to launch a couple airplanes out to the ship. So we were operating north of Cuba and south of Key West, Florida. And I remember the skipper came in the ready room and said, "We're going to stand alert watches." So there were different alerts for that period. Usually there were 30 or 1 hour alerts where we'd sit in the ready room, and or we would sit, in our stateroom, room, but we'd have to be ready to go in an hour. But one particular morning, I was put on the flight schedule, sit in the airplane on the flight deck, and all your flight gear ready to go. And sister squadron's there with me, and so we're the only two fighters on the deck. The deck was loaded, but it was all just about us. Everything's hooked up to the airplanes, and I'm bored. You have to sit there for 4 hours, sitting in the cockpit, canopy up, waiting to get launched. You never get launched, nothing ever happens. So I'm writing letters home to my wife, and all of a sudden we hear over the 1MC, launch the alert, launch the alert. So Frito's sitting in my back seat, and I said, "Frito, there's no way that we're getting off of this flight deck after the Ghost Rider. So you get everything running in the back, and I don't care if you've got the navigation system fully up or not. Once I get those engines going, we're going to break down the airplane, and we're going to go to the Cat." So they had Cat 1 available to us, and so I'm going, "Frito, don't let anything happen to this airplane. I do not want this airplane to go down. This is an alert launch. There's probably something out there, and I want to make sure that we're the first ones off." It was a pride thing with the Pukin Dogs and the Ghost Riders. So we got to the Cat, and everything's working great, and the airplane looks great, and he's got an INS alignment. I'm going, this is awesome. And the E-2, the early warning airplane, was already up because they launched that about an hour earlier. So I was going to get a snap vector soon. So the E-2 came up and said, "Yeah, your snap vector's 360 off of the catapult." And I looked at Frito and I said, "Aren't we north of Cuba?" And he goes, "Yeah." "And isn't Key West north of us?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "A 360 vector is going to be, we're going to go back to Key West." So I said, "So we're going south, we're not going north." So he said, "Oh, I'm with you. So we get in, we go into tension. The JBD, the jet blast effector, goes up. I go to full power. There was one thing I always did when I was on the ship and in the catapult. I don't know what it was, but when I'm ready for a fight or whatever, we were locked in at 6 points. We had our legs strapped in. We had our right in here for our seat pan, and we had the shoulder harness. So I would always run the engines up. I'd look at everything. I'd say, "Frito, you're ready to go, ready to go." And before I gave the salute to go, I would go ahead and move all in the seat, and so I could get real comfortable. And when I did that, I realized that I was writing the letter to my wife and never strapped in. So I'm full power on the catapult. The catapult officers give me the run-up signal. The JBD's up. Everybody's waiting for me to launch. I said, "Frito, I'm not strapped in, but we're going flying. Do not pull the handle, the ejection handle." So he said, "Roger, Slick," and he didn't care. So we launched off, went on a snap vector south, climbed up to about 10,000 feet. When I got comfortable, I started strapping everything in. So that was a real funny story. But the best part of that whole story was the ending. The ending, we went out and intercepted 2 MiG-21s. We were the first Tomcats to do that. And about 10 minutes into the flight, here comes Jay Johnson zooming through. And so Frito and I were able to intercept the 2 MiG-21s. They flew together. They didn't separate at all. So we got behind both of them. So we escorted the 2 MiG-21s back to Cuba and came back to the ship. So we come back into the break, and I'm pumped up, and I'm jazzed. So I said, "We're coming in low and fast." I said, "I want to make my altitude and my airspeed be close to 800. So we came in a little bit low and broke at the bow of the ship. Worst pass I've probably ever flown, but I was just jazzed. 550 knots, broke at the bow, came around. I think I got my gear past the 180. I know I got my flaps when I turned into the groove, but I'm not sure I ever got on speed until I landed. And we landed, got a 3-wire, rolled out. I didn't care what my grade was really, and we were still jazzed. Jumped out of the airplane. The air boss is over the 1MC. You know, crew out of 104, go up and see the captain. And I'm going, wow, I'm in trouble. So maybe I should have gone a little bit further upwind. So we go up and see the captain. The captain goes, "You guys are great. You guys are heroes, man. You intercepted those MiG-20." He didn't care about the pass at all. So I came back into the ready room to get my grade, and I was gonna, take it like a man and get my no grade.
Let's talk a little bit about that. At the back of every ready room is a greenie board. Each square is an arrested landing. The colors represent the various grades. The green represents a good pass, an okay pass, which is essentially an above average pass. An average pass is the yellows, we call those fares, which is an average pass, average deviations with average corrections. A below average but safe pass is represented by a brown, which we call a no grade.
And our Air-wing LSO was Stan Foltz, and a great guy, I still remember him today. And came in, and LSO was really mad at me. He's just like, that was the most unsafe pass. You never even got your gear till you were past the 180. You never even got your flaps until you were in the groove. And I said, yeah, that's about right. That's the way I saw it. And I said, so what do I get for a grade? And he goes, okay, no comment, JWP. And I go, JWP? And he goes, yeah, John Wayne passed. CAG LSO thought that was just great. Jay Johnson comes into the break, only airplane in the pattern, goes 3 miles upwind, turns around, comes back around and lands. And I'm not sure what grade he got, but the ship was all jazzed because I came in and did the pass. And the footnote to that story is Jay Johnson later went on to become the Chief of Naval Operations. So that's a story I've always had with Jay. So when he was CNO, we actually relived that story once before. So it was a great time. It's probably one of the best hops I ever had. It was the best grade I ever got landing on the ship. And it was just a fun all-around hop.